What's the greatest love story ever told? Romeo and Juliet? Rhett and Scarlett? Tristan and Isolde? It's interesting how over time our tastes and priorities change. Not just individually, but collectively. We evolve and grow and hopefully improve. Before starting work on today's topic, I already suspected what answers might be popular. But as is so often the case, my answers are a bit different. Welcome back, friends, to another episode of the 1111 podcast. Today is Stories Saturday during our week all about love. So, of course, we're talking love stories. As I occasionally do when looking for a different perspective, I turn to my buddies Alvin and Bardley, the two AI interfaces I consult. I enjoy using the tool of AI as it gives me a compiled answer born of human answers input across the web. So here's what I asked, and this is how it answered. And this is how Alvin answered. Alvin, what are the top 10 greatest love stories of all time, both real and fictional, along with a brief description of each? Alvin said, Number 1, Romeo and Juliet. Romeo and Juliet by William Shakespeare. This classic tale of two young lovers from feuding families has been a favorite for centuries. It's a story of passion, tragedy, and the power of love. Number 2, Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. This novel is a timeless classic that tells the story of Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy. It's a tale of love, pride, and the importance of overcoming prejudice. Number 3. I actually wasn't expecting this one, by the way, at least not in this spot. Number 3 was Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte. This novel is a hauntingly beautiful story of love and revenge. It tells the story of Heathcliff and Catherine, two lovers who are torn apart by their own passions. Here's another one I didn't expect, and I thought it was a lovely addition. The Time Traveler's Wife by Audrey Niffenegger, and I have no idea how to pronounce the last name, sorry, even though it's a famous story. This novel is a unique love story that transcends time. It tells the story of Henry and Claire, two people who are in love but are separated by time. Number 5, which I believe in earlier days would have been way higher on the list. It's Gone with the Wind by Margaret Mitchell. This novel is a sweeping epic that tells the story of Scarlett O'Hara and Rhett Butler. It's a story of love, war, and the struggle to survive. The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks. This novel is a heartwarming story of love and devotion. Interesting word, devotion. It's a great one. The Notebook tells the story of Noah and Allie, two people who fall in love as teenagers and spend their lives together. So get this for number 7, Romeo and Juliet again. Juliet spelled differently, and it's referring to the Prokofiev ballet version. I think that's interesting. Alvin says this ballet is a beautiful interpretation of Shakespeare's classic tale. It's a story of young love, passion, and tragedy. I probably have this wrong, but I'm pretty sure that in later years, Prokofiev found a new spiritual path, and he decided to change the ending of Romeo and Juliet to make it a happy story or something, and that didn't work out. Anyway, I can be all wrong, or it could just be an urban legend. Number 8, The Bridges of Madison County by Robert James Waller. This novel is a poignant story of love and loss. It tells the story of Francesca and Robert, two people who fall in love but are separated by circumstance. Number 9 is one I'm embarrassed to say I've never read or seen any cinematic interpretation of. I know it's hugely popular, but it's probably a little too lovely for me. The Fault in Our Stars by John Green. What's worse is I actually thought that was by Nicholas Sparks. Oh my gosh. Boo on me, boo. This novel is a touching story of young love and the struggle to survive. It tells the story of Hazel and Gus, two teenagers who fall in love despite their illnesses. And then number 10, Tristan and Isolde. I thought Cleopatra and Mark Antony would have been on here somewhere. But Tristan and Isolde, this medieval legend, is a timeless tale of love and tragedy. It tells the story of Tristan and Isolde, two lovers who are torn apart by fate. To be honest, I'm a fan of all of those, the ones I've read, that is, or seen the adaptation of. Though I'm very surprised the list did not include Jamie and Claire from Outlander. In fact, let's substitute them where the second R and J were listed. So, at this juncture of my life, what are the stories I believe reign supreme? And more importantly, why? One of my two choices may get a few head nods, the other a few head scratches. But here goes. Casablanca and It's a Wonderful Life. Surprised by the latter? Curious as to what our AI buddies might say, I asked this of Bardley. Please create a podcast script that talks about how Casablanca and It's a Wonderful Life are better love stories than Gone with the Wind or Romeo and Juliet. Ever the flashy showman, here's Bardley's response. Faded ink, enduring love. Why Casablanca and It's a Wonderful Life trump the classics. Intro, jazzy music with a bittersweet undertone. Host, I guess that's me. Welcome, hopeless romantics and cynical souls alike, to Faded Ink, where we dissect the stories that make our hearts soar and our eyes well up. Told you Bardley was a showman. Today we're diving into the murky waters of love stories. Specifically, those considered eternal classics. But hold on, Juliet and Rhett, because we're throwing down a gauntlet. We're pitting two underdogs, Casablanca and It's a Wonderful Life, against the titans of literature and Hollywood, Gone with the Wind and Romeo and Juliet. So prepare yourselves for a battle royale of the heartstrings, because we're about to prove that sometimes the greatest love stories are the ones whispered in smoky cafes. Ha ha ha, I see where you're going with that, Bardley. And dreamt on snowy streets. Ah, not shouted from balconies or swept away by hurricanes. Hurricanes? Does that refer to Gone with the Wind? I think they've got the wrong one there. But anyway, Bardley says the music fades. Chapter 1, The Power of Sacrifice. Upbeat romantic music. I'm not kidding about this music stuff. There are actually music prompts in the AI response. I'm getting such a kick out of this, I'm putting those all in. And they're much funnier to me than actually finding music that represents what it says. Okay, so they're saying the power of sacrifice. And then the host, me, is supposed to speak. But at the moment, I've got a puppy dog looking up at me saying, I need to go out before it starts raining again. And as we know, puppy dog stories are some of the greatest love stories ever. So Charleston and I will be back after going out and getting him fed. And then we will hunker down, he with his breakfast, I with some imaginary popcorn, to look at some great Hollywood love stories. See you in a minute. Okay, we are back. 3 days later, actually, but we're back. We left off with Bardley telling us Chapter 1, The Power of Sacrifice. The host is supposed to say, let's start with the elephant in the chiffon gown. Gone with the Wind. Scarlett O'Hara, the fiery Southern belle, is often hailed as the ultimate romantic heroine. But is her passionate pursuit of Ashley Wilkes fueled by pride and defiance? Truly love? Or is it a tempestuous whirlwind masking a desperate need for control? Compare that to Rick Blaine in Casablanca. His love is a slow burn, a quiet ember that flares into selflessness when he chooses her happiness over his own. He becomes the architect of his own heartbreak, choosing exile to ensure her safety. That, my friends, is sacrifice, the bedrock of any truly epic love story. Music softens. Okay, let's look at Bardley's reasoning. Remembering AI is merely an amalgamation of what has been input into the system. I've got to admit, I agree 100% with the explanation provided. As a kid, I was in awe of Scarlett O'Hara. Let's face it, She was a force with which to be reckoned. And Vivian Leigh? Oh my goodness. Could you get any more beautiful and beguiling? But as an adult, I've come to view her through the eyes of pity. She was horribly manipulative and predominantly selfish, while Melanie, on the other hand, as an adult, I've come to view Melanie Hamilton as the character to admire. Her strength of character and innate goodness are so attractive to me. Fun side note, when my mom was young, she once ran into the actress who played Mellie, Olivia de Havilland, in the ladies' room of a posh Los Angeles department store. Anyway, back to our topic. I now regard Casablanca as a better depiction of true love than GWTW. Rick's sacrifice is heartbreaking, and it's also honorable. Frankly, he gave a damn. As for Rhett and Scarlett, well, yes, I do hope they get back together because they deserve each other. I'm not sure who else would put up with them. That's not exactly true. Rhett showed time and again he had a heart. Perhaps the couple just needs counseling? Let's get back to what Bardley said next. Host, that's me, I am to say, and then there's George Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life, a man on the brink of despair, saved not by a grand gesture, but by the quiet, steady love of his wife, Mary. She shows him the life he's built, the lives he's touched, the love that surrounds him like a warm blanket. His redemption isn't fueled by dramatic pronouncements, but by the realization that true love isn't about sweeping someone off their feet. It's about holding them steady when the ground crumbles beneath them. Ah, Bardley, while I love your sentiment, I have other ideas on this subject. Yes, Mary Bailey's love was steadfast, but the real most powerful love in this story, to me, comes from the townfolk who rallied around George and made personal sacrifices at Christmas time to show their love and gratitude for George. To me, that is love. As a kid, it always bugged me that the lost money was never found. It bugged me even more that George was held accountable for it when it was Uncle Billy who lost it. The outcome of the story was unjust, in my opinion, at the time. Now, I find the way it all worked out to be truly beautiful and absolutely perfect. Even though Potter got the money, George got the love. And if you will, he got the win. The people in the town didn't go on a search mission to find the missing money. They gladly gave their own in its stead. Wow, what a story of love. Let's get back to Bardley's assessment. He says, Chapter 2, Love Beyond the Grandiose. Melancholy piano. Host. Now, Romeo and Juliet. Undeniably tragic, undeniably poetic. But let's be honest, their whirlwind romance unfolds against a backdrop of feuding families and teenage hormones. Is their love truly an enduring testament to the power of the heart? Or a melodramatic byproduct of societal pressures and youthful impulsivity? Contrast that to the love stories of Casablanca and It's a Wonderful Life. Rick's love transcends time and circumstance. It survives war, separation, and unspoken promises. George and Mary's love grows over years, weathering financial hardship, personal doubts, and the quiet hum of everyday life. These are loves that don't need grand gestures or star-crossed destinies. They find their strength in shared burdens, unspoken understanding, and the quiet heroism of everyday choices. Wow, that was pretty insightful, Bardley. Whose school essays did you glean all that from? It was beautiful. And I've got nothing to add. Those were very good points. So let's see now how Bardley wrapped everything up. Chapter 3, Enduring Ink, Enduring Love. What do we think enduring ink means? Certainly it's not about tattoos. Do we think it means that these were love stories that were penned and stand the test of time? Regardless, the next prompt says music swells, then fades. Host. So where does that leave our classic contenders? Gone with the Wind and Romeo and Juliet are undoubtedly masterpieces, testaments to the power of passion and the tragedy of fate. But when it comes to enduring love stories, the ones that stay with us long after the credits roll, Casablanca and It's a Wonderful Life steal the show. They remind us that love isn't always about fireworks and declarations. It's about the quiet acts of selflessness, the shared laughter in a dimly lit cafe, the whispered, "I love you," on a snowy street. Remember that? Didn't Mary whisper that into George Bailey's ear because she knew that he couldn't hear out of one ear? Anyway, that's pretty darn cute. These are the stories that leave ink stains on our hearts. Boy, Bardley laying it on a little thick, aren't we? The ones we revisit not for the grand pronouncements, but for the gentle reminders that love, in its truest form, is a quiet revolution, a testament to the human spirit's capacity for unwavering devotion. And may I just add, teenage suicide is never romantic. It's a family and community-shattering waste of life. Shakespeare's play is categorized as a tragedy for a reason, and should be viewed as a cautionary tale about hate and intolerance, more than a romance. Here are Bardley's last thoughts. Outro music, jazzy, hopeful. Host. So the next time you reach for a classic love story, don't just grab the usual suspects. Give Casablanca and It's a Wonderful Life a chance. Bardley, you may not know that Casablanca is probably considered the most romantic movie of all time, but you've done a fine job anyway. He goes on to say, you might just find your heart skipping a beat to a different rhythm, a rhythm of quiet sacrifice, shared dreams, and love that endures the test of time. Music fades. Host. This has been Faded Ink, reminding you that sometimes the most enduring love stories are the ones written in the margins, whispered in the quiet moments, and etched in the faded ink of everyday life. Until next time, keep those hearts open and those tissues handy. Well, if nothing else, we've learned that Bardley can write a narrative. We didn't go into Pride and Prejudice here, but I can't help but think the 21st century's love of Jane Austen comes down to some of the themes we touched on today. Sacrifice, doing the right thing, and doing it in quiet, without patting yourself on the back. That is part of what makes Mr. Darcy so attractive to modern sensibilities. Speaking of sensibilities, I'm a Sense and Sensibility girl myself. Give me Colonel Brandon any day. This has been a longer episode than usual, in part because I invited two, quote, guests, Alvin and Bardley, to join the conversation. And also because, as Bardley put it, our topic covered love that is a slow burn, not just a flash in the pan. Before I let you go, it's time for today's tiny task. It's a simple one. Choose the love story that means the most to you. Then give a good think to the reasons why it resonates so deeply with you. And finally, look for ways to incorporate the lessons from that story into your own relationships and activities during the day. Looking forward to being back with you tomorrow. Signing off as I always do with Cheriste Somme, which translates to, above all, love. Tuta, everyone.